Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I really hope you guys are excited about today's live. I certainly am. Recently, I've been very excited about all my lives, and I've been, spending a lot of time channeling, preparing, conceptualizing, trying my best to, bring the information to you guys in a way that it would help your journey. So, again, all of my gratitude goes to God always, as you know. Let's honor cosmic consciousness, my higher self. I thank my higher self, and I thank all of you guys for being here and joining me on this live. So let me just check I'm on the right platform. I thought I was in the wrong platform, so I kind of restarted again. So I am on the right platform. So I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes until more of you guys come in. All right. So I am on the right platform. All right. Oops. I can hear myself loud and clear. So let me get one in. All right. Perfect. So, oops. How have you guys been? I hope you guys have been doing well. I hope you guys have been feeling a lot of these energetic shifts that has been occurring very intensely, very deeply lately. Many of you guys have been messaging me saying this and that, especially, I've been touching this on my daily videos about how, in the middle of the night, suddenly you feel your divine masculine, his energy is very romantically, very affectionately coming in. And that is because of, guys, Neptune retrograde and also Uranus and all of that. So, all right. Oops. Okay. Right, let me just check one more thing before I start. Oops. Oh, okay, perfect. Karen is here. Good morning, Karen. All right, perfect. For a moment, I thought no one was here. So, thank you, Karen, for being here. And again, like I said, very, very excited to do this live. And Mercury retrograde just started. So, if there are any technological difficulties, let me apologize in advance. Actually, it did. I thought I was in the wrong chat, I mean, in the wrong platform. And then I started the video again. So, it already started the effects. So, with that, I know, like I was saying, a lot of you guys have been messaging me saying, you're feeling your divine masculine a lot, especially you're waking up in the middle of the night, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and you're feeling him very, very intensely. That is happening because of Uranus in Gemini and also with the Neptune retrograde, Mercury retrograde. Oh boy, this is like a blast. So basically, Mercury retrograde began yesterday. And so this Mercury retrograde in Leo, it's basically about reclaiming the voice of union, and it kind of like coincides with the union timelines. You know what, everything in God's design is infinitely great always. So divine intelligence is just always on top of everything, including your union cycles. So as I was saying, there is so much going on with your divine counterpart. All right, let me just look at the comments. Oops. As usual, the comments are not coming in. Okay. Okay. So So, as usual, I don't know, there's a bit of lag, so I'm going to use my phone to look at the comments. All right, perfect. All right, so as I was saying, Mercury retrograde. So basically, the effect of Mercury retrograde on your divine masculine is like, this is what his internal dialogue is like. Literally, it's like saying, I never meant to leave. It just didn't know how to stay. So this is what's going back and forth in his mind, and our friend Mercury retrograde in Leo is kind of like amplifying it. So for us divine feminines, on the other hand, it's like we are thinking, hey, is our power too much? Or exactly what's needed? Are we in balance? Are we in divine balance? What are we trying to do? So this is what's going on, the contrast mirroring between us and our divine counterpart. So that's why this retrograde period is not for contacting or communicating with your divine masculine blindly. Instead, this period, this Mercury retrograde, is truly about reviewing, looking back at words that were never spoken. All right, follow me closely. Words were never spoken but should have been. I'm not talking about like 3D level apology. I'm talking about how there were so many times our divine masculines could have said this, could have said that. We're talking about that. And how this Mercury retrograde is kind of bringing that to the surface. So the guidance would be to listen to your divine masculine's energetic voice in the ether. And you will notice that your divine masculine is appearing in your dreams, or many signs. And lately, you will notice another thing. When you dream about your divine masculine, it's no longer like a normal dream anymore. It feels so real, and you will notice there's a huge difference between your usual dreams and when your DM appears in your dream. It wouldn't even feel like a dream. I think you know what I mean. So this indicates pre-union, and it also happens a lot when you're in union. When you are dreaming about your DM, it's very different. It's like literally you're anchoring in his 5D self. All right, another good thing that you have to pay attention during this Mercury retrograde season, which is going to go on for another 3 weeks, is that you have to keep rehearsing your sacred no, especially if there are karmic situations coming in or any kind of fantasy timelines coming in. You really got to work with the Neptune retrograde energies of like completely breaking the illusion. So remember to say no to anything that tempts you in the wrong pathway. So another beautiful thing to look forward to is Sun enters Leo on the 22nd of July, and that is going to totally shift the game. You are going to notice there is more courage and divine self-recognition. So courageous love, So the beautiful thing is when the Sun exits Cancer and enters Leo, we shift from emotional rooting to solar sovereignty. So this is the week where our divine masculines are cosmically prompted to own his heart's truth. Remember, guys, not in fantasy, but in divine action. So that's why from the 22nd, you will notice that, because we are so connected to our divine masculines, right? That this internal fire would rise within them that is not often externally expressed. So this is where the awareness stirs right up, shoots through the crown chakra. So as divine feminines, this is about stepping out of patterns such as self-abandonment, trying to soften everything so that it becomes more palatable, becomes, more easier to manage, So So basically it's like how you're correcting your cooking, you're softening it so that it's more palatable, and then you're trying to fix situations. And so try to avoid that, try to be in your inner power. And the solar plexus and heart chakra are going through a major realignment for the entire collective. So this can manifest as tightness, longing. You might suddenly feel inspired to do this, you might suddenly inspired to do that. So you'll be noticing this creative burst and unexpected clarity. So remember, the way Leo operates, that too in Mercury retrograde, is that Leo is basically telling you that love is not meek, it's actually majestic, it's grand, just like what Leo is, right, as a sign. Of course, Leo is the name of my nephew too. And I just say the beautiful thing about Leo is that it's a majestic sign, and that's what it's basically saying. It's time to remember that love does not apologize for its truth. So it is about shining through your truth with Leo, with Neptune retrograde, and with Uranus in Gemini. So later this week we have got the new moon coming up in Leo on the 24th of July. So this full moon has been very, very intense. Full moon in Capricorn was totally a game changer. And you probably started feeling the pre-energies of the new moon, even though we are like a couple of days, to the new moon. The theme of this new moon in Leo, with Mercury retrograde in Leo and Uranus and Pisces, it's about spiritual rebirth through sacred identity. So this is where you're truly shaping up who you are on a soul level. So that's why this new moon is truly bringing out parts of your soul that you haven't seen in a long time. So it's about your vision meeting with your soul maturity, because where you are right now is months and months and months of going through the process of being in a twin flame journey. So Neptune and Saturn are bringing that out in new moon. So that's why the new moon, let's say it sits in the middle, and then you've got Saturn, you've got Neptune retrograde on the sides, and then you've got Uranus, where you're suddenly getting clarity, download, sudden insights, timeline leaps, breakthroughs, jumping, all of it. And then you've got an opposition in Pluto in Aquarius, which may sound like it's not good, but actually it's excellent, because it's truly the death of old power dynamics and love control. So the past is going to be buried. Not buried. It's going to totally go away this season. So remember, this new moon is not a manifestation moon or about romantic fantasies. Nope. All of the illusions are being broken thanks to our Neptune retrograde. So that's why it is a sacred period for you to call on to your soul's creative union identity. Oops. Just checking. All right. Oh, perfect. Good morning, Tracy. All right. Thank you. So, yeah. So as I was talking about that, so for monadic twin flames like us, this season, this week, it's all about going past the illusions, breaking the illusions, and bringing our mission to the forefront. So that's why our identity in our relationship with our divine masculine is going to shift. Ego projections are going to burn away, really. So that's why you may be feeling your divine masculine's energies. So his pressure to act, to align, so you can literally see his old self dying. And that's why many of y'all might feel a void all of a sudden, or you might suddenly feel like, hey, I don't feel my DM so much the way it is, because he's going through a complete reshift. So that's why we are being tested in emotional sovereignty right now. Can we hold the vision without letting the fantasy seep in, or without letting the ego come in? So it's like we are in that zone where we are not trying to fix it, chase or rescue a connection, but rather surrendering and going into detachment. So this new moon is totally about, let's put the old story behind and let's start anew with our true self in full self soul expression, in embodiment, and in deep clarity. Oh boy. So let me touch a little bit more on Neptune and Saturn retrogrades, and of course Mercury retrograde as well, and then we can delve right into our topic. And and this will also give us more time for more of you guys to come in. And so yes, like I was saying, Neptune and Saturn retrograde, it's all been about purging illusions and reconstructing your inner authority. So one thing good is when Neptune and Saturn are in retrograde in Aries, it is about activating spiritual identity reconstruction. So this is hitting the divine masculine collective especially really hard. So what is actually happening is that Neptune retrograde dissolves false masks, especially when our divine masculine tries to merge with karmic projections, so be it friends or karmic connections, and think that it's normal love. But in actuality, what's happening is Neptune retrograde is breaking that. And Saturn retrograde brings up the hard questions like, is this what you're meant to do? Is this your mission? Where is the structure? If this person isn't your flame, why are you with her? If this person is kind of like disrupting your journey with divine flow, what are you doing? What are you doing to protect your divine feminine? So questions like that are really, really coming up. So that's why for us divine feminines, we may be feeling our divine masculines shifting, but we are able to understand why it's not showing up yet. So what we got to do is just hold on and just watch. Don't overcompensate, because our divine masculines are restructuring, not ignoring. So this is the beautiful thing about the retrograde. You do not let the illusion take over you. And Uranus in Gemini, oh man, I love Uranus in Gemini, because it opens up a sacred union window. So it's all about electric messages and soul contact. So this is the power of Uranus in Gemini. It's about timeline jumps. It's about but sparks in the ether, sudden clarity. So you might be feeling a lot of activations in your throat, crown, and the electric circuits, in your combined energetic fields. So that's why keep expecting a lot of downloads coming in, unexpectedly, while you're sleeping, daytime, anytime, messages, 5D, multidimensionally, even in 3D, but your telepathy is totally activated right now. So you might have accidental encounters. Literally, this is the period you may be bumming into your divine masculine, or at least having more dream contact, or having no dream contact at all. But you might be, seeing his name or something about his country, something about what you see and perceive in the 3D world would bring you back to your divine masculine. So you are basically feeling your divine masculine's presence more intensely, really, totally without warning. So this is like, you might suddenly feel his touch, he might smell his perfume, suddenly a memory of both of you. Remember this about memory: the good memory always doesn't come up as much as the bad things that has happened. So try to rewire that a bit, guys. There's so many good moments you have had with your DM, but why are you always focusing on the rejection, the ghosting, or his mean words? Focus on the good memories, how he made you feel, at home. Yeah. So Uranus disrupts only what's stale. Remember, it only shakes up what is stagnant. So that's why this is a period of shifting, divine breakthroughs, and totally being cracked open. So this upcoming week, our divine masculines will experience a rising inner discomfort with a lot of karmic related issues, shifts in jobs, in roles, old friends. If your DM is part of category 1, karmic attachments, all of that safe roles are going to completely break out. And our vibration as the divine feminine, our vibration is so hard to ignore that somehow there is going to be some kind of a divine contact. So that's why I kept talking about the subconscious review that takes place. So this is where everything is like rewiring and realigning again, and even though there might be like restlessness in the surface, and this desire for authenticity, it's all happening in divine timing. So just go with the flow, let the ether merge and your higher self visitations continue, even though you might feel like, hey, what am I doing? So let all of these happen. All right, because our divine masculines are literally being broken open by the Uranus energies, so that's why the etheric merging and all of that visits and that restlessness is actually a mirror from your divine masculine. It's what he's going through. So even the subconscious review, it's actually coming from him, and that's why you're feeling it. So as divine feminines, our role is to be willing, be in sacred embodiment, to release energetic dead weight, because that has been a deep burden. So obsessive timelines, projections, expectations, throw them all in the bin and totally harness Leo's beautiful energy to create without performance. So this is your time to be creative, dance, paint, do gardening, grow something, raise something, start something, be the leader you're meant to be. So practice detachment the queen way, literally, and also stay open hearted and not in your, either in your self-sacrificing, selfless state, or don't go into love bombing either. Try to find a balance, be in your queen energies, and this is what's going to truly help you. So that's why this is a beautiful week for your energies to be on the top and for your authentic self to come through your crown, through your queen energy. So that's why get rid of illusion, because it will delay union, and then go into authenticity, go into freedom, go into truth. And this Leo new moon energies are going to amplify it all, and that's why this week's forecast is totally on fire. It's a mixture of authenticity, alignment, and pre-union stage. And for those in union, it's about the next stage. So this is how the energies are like for the coming week. So before we delve into topic, I'm having promotion on the Mercury in retrograde healing and activations for the next 48 hours at 99 USD. So get in fast. The regular price is 222. Also, guys, today is the last day for the 19 not last day. You can do the healing till the 23rd of July. So today is the last day to make bookings for the 19/7 portal healing. So there are only 2 spots left. So if you guys are interested, do book your spot. Excuse me. I introduced 2 healings last night. One for category 1, Twin Flames, the Karmic Detourer and Veil Burner. So I would highly recommend that 2 healings. Do check them out. So it's called the Truth Fire Purge, releasing karmic illusions, healing and activations for the first category. And for the second category, it's the Inner Monastery Silence Healing and Etheric Repair healing and activations for category 2. So do check them out. They're on promo till the 31st of July. And of course, I've also extended the promotion for the other 7 healings till the 31st of July. The Phoenix Gate, the Chakra Mirror activation, the Heart Chord Recalibration, highly recommend. In fact, I highly recommend all 7 of them. The Divine Masculine Fragment healing and Etheric Space clearing as well. Truly, this is a period to truly shine. And of course, soul realignment, do check that out, guys. It's really highly recommended. All right, with that, I really thank you all for your tips. Again, I'll be doing channeling at the end, and for all the support. Lately, I've been trying to create more powerful discourses for you guys. I'm like spending more time thinking about what I should talk about. Again, based on all of you I meet, all the clients I meet, I've been shaping discourses, and that's why I kind of like split Monadic Twin Flames into 6 categories. So really, I've been feeling really inspired. So do check out my longer other discourses on my YouTube channel as well. And I'll really, really appreciate if you guys could, subscribe. And I was saying that if I could hit 2,000 followers on YouTube, I will do a live there. So let's, for fun, play with the 3D world a little. All right, with that, today's topic. I know I've done this topic in so many different ways, in the years. But today, I want to bring in a new element into it. So, today we are going to talk about the purpose of separation, what we are doing as Monadic Twin Flames behind the scenes. And before I start, I'm just going to check in that. All right, any comments? All right, perfect. So, and the 6 categories of Monadic Twin Flames and their archetypical codes, and how each category experiences the separation wound. So this is an advanced discourse, guys. So this is not for the faint hearted. So this is for those who already know this was never just about love. This is about remembrance, reconstruction, and it's a sacred planetary task. So let me delve right in. So I hope the next 45 minutes it's going to be interesting, and you guys are really, really going to enjoy this discourse. And of course, if you guys have any questions, again, in the past, I used to keep looking at questions and answering, but a lot of people who watch it like much later were saying too much interruption. So that's why I've structured my discourses this way. I do the discourse, and then I open the floor to questions, and then I do live channeling. We still have to use 3D structure, right? Anyway, let me delve right in. So what is the pain of Monadic Twin Flame separation? So the pain of Monadic Twin Flame separation, and I say it as a Monadic Twin Flame, as a Monadic Divine Feminine, it can feel like abandonment, shame, loss, betrayal, all of the things that can break you. So from the soul's vantage point, separation is a divine mechanism, and it's very, very difficult to understand it from a 3D perspective, but from a soul level, a little bit better. So it's a sacred intelligence coded into our twin flame journey to ensure proper timing, maturation, and remembrance. So, just as the caterpillar must enter the darkness of the cocoon to emerge as the butterflies, as Monadic Twin Flames, we must sometimes be apart so that what is impure can dissolve and what is eternal can rise. So remember, guys, I know I'm saying it over and over and over again, but I'll say it again. Separation is not punishment, it is preparation. It is not a rejection of love, which our divine masculines love to do. It is a reorientation to true love. So that's why let's delve deeper into what is actually going behind the scenes, unfolding beneath the ache, the longing, and the silence. So let me get straight to the point, all right? If you are a Monadic Twin Flame, remember, separation is not a detour. It's a divine enforcement. And our twin flame community love to romanticize union. But if you are in a Monadic twin flame journey, you know better. As Monadic twin flames, we do not come together for comfort. We come together for cosmic recalibration. To initiate a return sequence to cosmic consciousness through embodiment, through embodied polarity. And separation literally is like, in a computer system, the firewall that prevents union from self destructing in distortion. So that's why today's discourse is not exactly about, you know, telling you guys everything is going to be okay, telling you guys or romanticizing the twin flame journey. So today we are here not to feel better in the traditional sense. We are here to understand better, and that's why I really wanted to dissect what our soul is actually doing during this sacred delay of separation. So let's look at higher self orchestration, the soul beyond the personality. So, our higher selves agreed to this separation, to this pause, because our egos were not ready to hold what our heart already knew. So, at the highest octave, as monadic twin flames, in the cosmic eight that we are separated, we are already united. And even though the metaphorical cosmic egg that I love talking about, it's cracked open, the plasma, the fluid that stays, the amniotic fluid that stays inside doesn't totally go away, because this is not human amniotic fluid. This is energetic. So you're always going to be together through the third energy. But sometimes the third energy goes dormant, especially when you individually want to experience your roles as the feminine and the masculine. But the third energy is always there. That's why at the highest octave, we are always united. There is no separation between you in the quantum field and your divine masculine. But to anchor this union into human form, you have to trust your higher selves, because it carefully orchestrates events, triggers, timings, and even heartbreak. So let me give you an example. So, divine feminine A, all right? I'm going to give you an example from each category, all right? So, divine feminine A from category 1 is tired of her divine masculine going into relationships after relationships after relationships and constantly telling her, you are the one for me, only with you I feel the safest. But then he goes into another relationship. But this is happening for divine feminine in category 1, divine feminine A, for her ego to break, for the mind to break and to totally go into the cosmic field, and for the divine masculine to stop running into relationships according to his energies. So it's all about bringing the energy up to that certain frequency. And then let's use an example from category 2, the silent initiate and the still flame. So divine feminine B, the silent, in the silent initiate still flame category, she's like, you know what, takes pride. I'm not talking to him, after, I'm not going to message him, I'm going to be very disciplined. I'm going to, let the universe do its thing, so goes in separation. Being the still flame, she's totally still, right? Doesn't message him, doesn't do anything, doesn't even go and try to see him. And then suddenly, let's say after 3 years, she hears her divine masculine is like leaving the country, or is coming to the place she's in, or she's going to be in a conference that they're going to attend. Suddenly she's got this urge, this primal urge from 1D and 2D, where she's like, I have to see him, I have to talk to him, it's now or never, where she feels like it's death. So she puts herself in a position where she knows the divine masculine would pass through, and she expects him to, embrace her, and welcome her, because 3 years of sacred discipline, right? No communication, no interruption, but he lashes out at her instead. And you may ask, why is this happening? And the divine feminine might ask, wasn't I disciplined? Am I not detached? No, you're not. In both cases, the ego and the mind is still there trying to take over the journey. And that's why our higher selves are orchestrating such a scenario so that you would break that mold of your 3D mind, 4D mind. So that's why, even though there are heartbreaks and triggers, what is meant to happen has to happen. So these events are actually very, very sacred. When your divine masculine actually, in category 1 tells you, I love you so much, but I'm not able to let go of my karmic. Or in category 2, why are you always there? Why are you freaking, stalking me? I just don't like you. Go away and I will never, never, ever talk to you again. And he blocks her. So these events have to happen. If not, the journey becomes stagnant. So let me repeat this again, all right? So the higher selves are actually orchestrating these events, triggers, and timings, and even heartbreaks, because what it's trying to do is it's recalibrating the frequencies. Remember, our union must vibrate at the same shared harmonic resonance. If one of us, or if both of us, are still operating from fear, ego, trauma, or unprocessed karmic loops, the higher self intervenes. Even stagnancy, not to withhold love, but to preserve its sanctity. So that's why it's about synchronizing soul lessons. So often, either it's you or your divine masculine who is on the faster path of awakening. And, either you or your DM may need more earth time to complete the karmic contracts, to dissolve false identities or awaken to the spiritual path. So this is when the higher self says, pause now, it's not time yet. So when you are trying to make the union happen, it never happens. So that's why preventing premature collapse. So sometimes to prevent union happening too soon, and when the energetic structure is not mature yet, it can lead to explosive breaking rather than sacred merging. So listen to this very, very carefully. So when the soul enforces separation as a kind of a divine, let's say, insurance policy against karmic collapse. So this is not abandonment, it is guardianship. So that's why the higher self orchestration at the monadic level, you got to separate it from seeing everything that happens as a failure, and to actually go into the mode that you separated because the sacred just can't make it happen because you're not ready. So the higher selves of being, our higher selves as monadic twin flames, are not just operating from soul contracts or planetary codes, galactic codes alone. Remember, our higher selves are the guardians of these planetary and galactic codes. So our unions can only happen when matured. And when it happens, we become conduits for cosmic intelligence, and we activate the divine union field. So that's why I'll say it again and again, the orchestration of separation is not personal, it's precise. And that's why when we look at the activation that happens during the splitting of the soul, when we meet the dormant monadic counterpart, often our divine masculine, sometimes it could be the divine feminine. So from my experience, of course, I was the divine feminine and my masculine was the dormant monadic, right? So when we both met, we were both activated. And what happened was it triggered cellular collapse of false identities, ego structures, and then we started inheriting all these timelines. So our soul was literally beginning to shake off the density, because if it's done too quickly, it can lead to a nervous system overload and a crash, trauma re-imprinting, or spiritual psychosis. So the higher self says, hey, pause, let's prepare the sacred vessel, the macabre. So energetic voltage rebalancing. Monadic twin flames, we love operating on superconductive frequency bands. So the reason why I'm talking in terms of electric, and it may sound all a bit scientific, but actually it's a bit beyond that. So I'm trying to tie in spirituality with a little bit of science, and to see our body as an electric, our body is electricity itself. So that's why as Monadic twin flames, we love to operate on superconductive frequency bands, and these frequencies carry divine memory, starseed codes, and multi-dimensional access. So this is where all the teleportation is taking place. But of course, one of our counterparts, often our beloved divine masculines, may have incarnated in heavier programs for longer. That's why a soul realignment totally breaks it. And that's why I highly, highly recommend soul realignment, guys, for yourself and then your divine masculine too, to kind of like help with the clearing. Of course, divinely guided. Everyone who comes to me for soul realignment, it's always through divine guidance, all right? Again, to protect the field, the separation acts as a dimensional buffer until both of us can stabilize the voltage of union without burning each other. So remember, this is not abandonment, this is energetic survival. So, divine masculine cloaking. In our sacred monadic twin flame parts, the divine masculine often undergoes a soul cloaking, disappearing, withdrawing into silence, retreat, or for category 1, karmic entanglements, not as rejections, but to protect the frequency field while his human form calibrates. And of course, category 1 feminines can see this as betrayal, but remember, at what level of the soul? So see this way, he's actually guarding the temple until he's guarding his own temple of union until he's ready to enter it. That's why don't think that your counterpart walked away and forgot you, abandoned you. Think again. The moment of separation is triggered for both of you, consciously and unconsciously, to enter a soul energetic sequence. And that's why I've been talking about karmic field purging, dimensional timeline repair, nervous system recalibration, activation of dormant star codes, and recovery of lost soul fragments. And since 2023, this has been wild. This has been super wild. So remember, if union were allowed to proceed before any of this is complete, you will either be trauma bound, codependent, or completely easily attacked by the not so good energies, because all will explode. So when you're not ready, you become more vulnerable even to the not so good energies. So it's so important to do it all before you enter into a sacred phase of union. So that's why I wanted to talk about the cocoon of transformation. So going back to our butterfly analogy, so what happens in this cocoon phase? I've talked about the cocoon phase just for divine masculines, but now I'm going to talk it for monadic twin flame as a collective. When we both enter the cocoon phase, remember, it is not about being passive, it's actually an upgrade chamber. So the stillness, the longing, the endless, why is not coming back loop, that's not emotional stagnation. That's actually ego detoxing while your field updates. So example, you have lost interest in old friendships. Excellent. Your body goes through strange symptoms for no reason. Classic light body calibration. You suddenly remember a past life in ancient Egypt, but you can't remember where you parked your car. Welcome to multi-dimensional awareness. Remember, our job during this phase isn't to beg, chase, or decode. It's to anchor, build, and become. And that's why the cocoon of monadic twin flames alchemy is about what the soul is really doing. Remember, our higher selves are not sleeping during separation. In fact, they are more than active. They are actually sculpting source code. They are sculpting sacred intelligence. Our higher selves are not, think about it, even if we are operating at this level, at what level will our higher selves operate? So monadic twin flames, as monadic twin flames, we do not wait during separation. We are actually being restructured. So here's what's actually happening in the cocoon in depth. All right. Firstly, there is deep soul fragment retrieval. Monadic twin flame love demands soul wholeness. So the pain of separation, the deeper the pain, forces both of us to retrieve lost fragments from trauma, past lives, star systems, and generational memory. So each emotional purge is not just healing the present. It's calling the soul back to cosmic consciousness. So, as the divine feminine, we lead this journey. Often we lead this journey. Of course, every twin flame journey is very, very unique. So, when we lead this journey, we dive deep into ancestral healing, womb remembrance. That's why I always recommend a womb healing and activation as well. And we actually activate our priestess memory, our goddess memory. And on the other hand, our divine masculines, through silence, are going through soul rebirth, through stillness, often, sadly, poor thing, without understanding why. That's why the monadic purge is a sacred erosion. Everything that is not love will die and must die. So everything that mimicked love, attachment, addiction, spiritual ego, must burn. So this is the monadic twin flame purge. It's a sacred fire that clears the astral field so that both you and your divine masculine can merge without distortion. Remember, we are not broken. We're actually being recoded. So this is when mission codes activations come in as well. So the more the density clears, as monadic twin flames, the templates begin to download, and these are mission specific codes related to grid work. So suddenly you might find yourself traveling to Africa or traveling to Portugal, and you know why. Starseed portals, this is when you'll be like going into deep healing, like soul realignment, womb healing, the union activators. All of that will start happening, and we will start restoring the planet as well. So our codes can't fully anchor until each one of us are sovereign. Both you as the divine feminine and your divine masculine are sovereign, embodied and surrendered. Hence, the cocoon is not just a healing place. It's an encoding chamber for divine service. So remember, the silence is not empty. It's actually very, very loud. It's alive with alchemy. So separation creates what we call the cocoon phase. So this is why I love using the cocoon phase, because it's a sacred vacuum where the ego dissolves, the identity is stripped, and the soul awakens to its own light. But the silence is not passive. It is the holy container of transfiguration. So, I want to just, go a little bit deeper and really go deep into what's happening in the cocoon. Ego, death, and soul resurrection. So, both you and your divine counterpart, especially, if you're the chaser, or the awakening divine feminine, you're called to let go of attachment, identity, and storylines, because the pain becomes the fire of purification, stripping all illusion that union comes from outside. So this is where, as the divine feminine, we often become our own beloved. We start loving ourselves more and more. This is where our beloved divine masculine, though silent, begins to remember you in his bones. So inner polarity healing, this is the stage to get an inner polarity healing done as well, because separation activates your inner DM, and as the feminine, we must reclaim our inner masculine, because it activates our sovereignty, direction, containment, and our inner masculine must awaken his inner feminine, which is emotion, intuition, surrender. So this is not self-help, this is soul rebalancing. Union cannot come from need, it must come from wholeness. So timeline realignment. As the emotional field purges, the soul rewrites timelines. Past life karma collapses, future timelines recalibrate, and this is where sudden shifts, career changes. So suddenly you might hear the news your divine masculine has quit his job, under the context that he's retiring and he's like freaking like 40 years old. Like seriously, right? But these are all part of it. Spiritual awakenings and intuitive upgrades occur. Remember, the cocoon is not waiting, it's becoming. So, how to thrive, not just survive in separation, because there's a thin line between thriving and surviving. So, what you become in the silence is what will bring the reunion. So, many monadic twin flames suffer through separation. But you're not meant to suffer, you're meant to awaken. And this phrase is not about endurance, it's about metamorphosis. So, how do we thrive during separation? Anchor into your divine mission. Your union is part of a larger soul blueprint. During separation, your soul calls you back to your mission. Focus on what you came to earth to do, and this magnetizes your counterpart, your divine masculine, not through force but through frequency. So remember, the mission is magnetic. When you stand in your light, your divine masculine feels it no matter where he is. Transmute the longing into devotion. The ache for your twin is sacred fuel. Don't numb it, alchemize it. Let it power your art, your healing, your service to the world. So let it become poetry, prayer, sacred alchemy of creating something. So remember, what if the ache wasn't about abandonment but remembrance? So you got to see it this way. So what if the longing is how our soul keeps singing? So remember, you got to trust the soul contract. This is the hardest part but the most essential. So you must trust that your higher selves are still in conversation. So this is very, very difficult. I used to do so many discourses and be like, how to communicate with my DM's higher self. But remember, your DM's higher self is literally hovering around you. Sorry guys, I was adjusting the aircon. So remember that the soul blueprint is unfolding even when 3D reality says otherwise. That the silence is not absence, but sacred choreography. This is where you become the monadic twin flame you're meant to be. So really, let's look into how do we thrive during separation. Embody the inner monad. So our divine masculines are not outside of us, they are within us. He is living in our frequency, inside our field. So every breath, every prayer and initiation we undergo during separation strengthens the third energy, the shared monadic intelligence between you and your divine masculine. So speak to the third energy. Stop chasing and start channeling. Remember, the ache is sacred. We know that. I don't have to remind you that. But don't numb it. Use it as a fuel. Create light, Do better at your job. Change your job. Start a business. Do something to channel the pain. So this is what twin flames do, to radiate from the void, not to collapse into it. And also start living as if union already exists. Monadic twin flames are not creating union, they are revealing it. So it is about existing in the higher realms. Our job is not to force the timing, but to anchor the frequency. So every time you act from union, not fear, you collapse time. You accelerate reunion, not by chasing it, but becoming worthy of it. So So this is where you are actually building the third energy, even if they are still ghosting you. So this is a little soul stick secret other twin flame teachers might miss. Even if your divine masculine blocked you, ignored you, or moved on, if you are in a monadic twin flame dynamic, remember he is inside your field, still tethered to you through the third energy of the grid, the third energy grid, the sacred, the frequency field that forms between two soul expressions on their way to divine merge. And that's why I like to call it the plasma, or the in-between, the electricity in between in the cosmic egg, which is always there, going back to what I was saying earlier. And this field responds to your embodiment, reacts to your triggers, rewires with your growth. And that's why you cannot freaking lie to your divine masculine. So if you bump into him, and if you're orchestrated, your 3D self orchestrated that situation, he's going to tell you that you're stalking him, because you cannot lie to him. He knows everything. He knows what you're thinking. He knows every single thing. Just like you know every single thing of his. He knows. He may look like he's dumb, and he may look like he's not rewired, but he's actually, I would always say, my divine masculine is always in a more awakening state than me, because he just knows. Because the divine masculine is the body and we are the fuel. So it's like we need both to become one. So the embodiment of our divine masculine is to actually protect us, to guard us, to actually, be that larger force of energy holding our sacred light. So of course he knows. His higher self is speaking to him, saying, hey, your divine feminine came in too early. Hey, your divine feminine is trying to trick you here. Even though you do it from the innocence of your heart, don't let the ego play you. Remember, the mind and the ego is only there. So the not so good energies are not your enemy. Your mind is your enemy. Remember that. So now we are going to go into the 6 categories. All right. And actually what happens during the separation. So we've got 6 categories. Category 1, the karmic detourer and the veil burner. Category 2, the silent initiate and the still flame. Category 3, the cosmic runner and the quantum weaver. Category 4, the timeline wanderer and the quantum pillar. Category 5, the mission holder and the greed weaver. And category 6, the sleeping king and the flame of remembrance. So I hope after today you have a better understanding of all these 6 categories, and you'll be able to pinpoint exactly into which category you fall under. So I'm going to begin with category 1, which a lot of you are on, the karmic detourer and the veil burner. So let's go into a little bit of what it is. All right, the karmic detourer is someone who avoids truth by detouring into karmic patterns, whereas as the veil burner, you burn the illusion with or without him. So what is really happening behind the scene for the divine masculine karmic detourer? Remember, he's not rejecting you, he's rejecting the calibration. His system is not able to stabilize the truth codes. The divine feminine, which is you, emanating. So your presence short circuits all programming. He is being allowed and sometimes forced by the soul to fully play out karmic cycles, even when they appear absurd or destructive. So this is when the NPCs kind of fit in. So even though the not so good energies think that, hey, they are winning, they are not. It's all part of the higher plan. So this includes relationship based on familiarity or cultural duty, career paths that reflect status, not soul, roles that please others but betray himself. This is not because he doesn't feel the connection. It's because he's not spiritually strong enough to endure the collapse that comes from within. So example, he may marry someone else, move abroad, or double down on his old life. But within that illusion, his soul is quietly letting it fail so that the truth becomes the only viable path. So for the divine feminine, the veil burner, your job is not to expose his karma. It is to burn through your own illusions of timing, fairness, and rescue. You are undergoing a field test of spiritual integrity. So, these are the questions that you got to ask yourself. Can you live your truth without audience or approval? Can you choose wholeness over closeness? Can you be in truth without performance? So the dangerous perspective here is fantasy timeline projection. Seeing your union not as a potential but as a fixed inevitability, and emotionally tethering yourself to that fantasy while your life stagnates. So the example would be, you think he will leave her eventually and come back to you, but in that waiting you are leaking into a karmic grid instead of anchoring the divine union field through sovereign embodiment. So this is exactly what's happening. So too much of the fantasy, or that your mind telling you, hey, you will leave her and come back, can also create leakages. So you have to watch your thoughts carefully. Surrender and egoic, he's going to come to you, are two different things. So you got to look at that a little bit. So the purpose of this separation, this is the most externally painful but internally powerful category. The delay is designed to give your divine masculine the space to fail his way into remembering, and for you to succeed your way into embodiment. So he doesn't return because you wait, he returns because you no longer need him to, and your your field becomes undeniable. So remember, your soul task is to hold divine truth without self, anchor integrity regardless, psychic over identification with being the one. So that is the danger zone that you got to avoid. And you have to stop orienting to him emotionally. So this is the soul written trigger. For him, it's burning through illusion via karmic collapse, and the field work that happens is playing out false timelines until truth breaks through of external drama. The danger zone is subconscious avoidance of truth, and the soul written trigger will be his illusion collapses internally. So this is category 1, and I hope you have got a deeper understanding of what goes behind the scenes for category 1. So anyone in category 1 right now, let me look at the comments. All right, category 2. Well, category 2. So category 2, all right. Separation wound is often silence, ambiguity, intense psychic presence with no physical proof. So you would literally feel like you're crazy, and people close to you will really think that something is wrong with you. But why does it happen? Because he processes inwardly, and as the still flame, we hold the feel. Nobody speaks, but yet we both suffer. So think like this: there is no contact for 2 years, yet you dream of him weekly, and he casually reappears during Mercury retrogrades. So what is the soul doing? Teaching your masculine sacred inner preparation, training you to anchor union without external validation. So the funny thing is, you would be thinking, hey, should I reach out? And he really does nothing for 2 years. And then the third energy is like, that was his message that he sent in silence, that he did not do anything for 2 years. So this is right now, this is where you have to be like, okay, so that is the funny thing, because this is what's happening. So subtle, so deep, so silent, that if you operate from ego, you won't even understand that there is communication happening. So let's look at the archetypical summary of this, right? So Our divine masculine withdraws into inner sanctity, and you hold the sacred flame without chasing. So, this is the category which is one of the most spiritually refined, least understood categories. It is so quiet, very, very, very private, and super, super energized, and often very confusing externally, because what looks like disinterest is actually sacred restraint. So the next time he tells you, I'm not interested in you, you know he is going through sacred restraint in this category. So what is exactly going behind the scenes for the silent initiate, for our divine masculine? So the divine masculine has got a lot of past life spiritual trauma, a misuse of power, often as a priest, a magician, a warlock, or even a healer who once crossed ethical lines. So in this life, he self-regulates by silence. He doesn't avoid us. He avoids unworthiness, love bombing, temptation, or the fear that he will hurt you if he moves prematurely. And as divine feminines, we become like that too, like vulnerable Susie, literally. So that's the reason why your actions do create his silence. So remember, his silence is not rejection, it is a vow of spiritual atonement. So let's look at an example, right? He may watch you from afar, listen to the stuff you do, try to ask your friends, not your friends because you will know, try to kind of like stalk you, social media, deeply trying to figure out what you're doing, or energetically feel your presence every day, but say absolutely nothing about it, not to anyone. So to outsiders, he looks extremely cold, because no one knows what's going on. To the soul, he's protecting the sacred until he's ready to hold it properly. So as the divine feminine, as the still flame, our soul task is frequency neutrality without emotional detachment. So we must feel everything without reacting to it, know everything without controlling the outcome, and love without grasping. So as the still flame, we often deeply psychic. We feel our divine masculine's energy through dreams, conscious, subconscious. We sense his emotions, and yet we can't have proof. Like I always use my own example, right? Like once I was at a wedding and I felt like, I was underwater, and then when we got into union, he was actually scuba diving on that day. That was one memory I had hold, because literally I felt like I was inside, and I love scuba diving, by the way. So to me, I was in a wedding and I was scuba diving. So it was a sensate moment that I was having. So as the still flame, like I said, the example is like, you see, you feel him pop in at like the middle of the night at 3 a.m. and you hear his name while you are in a yoga class. Or you sense his jealousy out of the blue. But then he kind of like cut you off like 3 years ago. So you'll be like, how is this even happening? So remember, your pain is not that he's coming. Your pain is that this invisible bond with no validation, and learning how to hold it without leaking your energy. So what is the purpose of this separation? This separation is meant to protect the field from premature union, is to teach us to lead from silence, not from suffering, to teach our divine masculine to initiate only when the inner temple is rebuilt. So that's why the union isn't delayed because of immaturity, it's delayed because of spiritual reverence. So let's look at some of the common mistakes in this category. As the divine feminine, we might doubt our intuition too much because it's not confirming anything, and as a still flame, I can say that it can be very, very hard. And for him, believing he must be fully healed to connect, which he never will be, because healing is every single day we are healing, so there is no healed state. So this is his problem, because he wants to be perfect when he returns, but he will never be. And that is also not the point. So let's look at the soul task for us, to hold the flame without emotional leakage. And our field work is to trust telepathy, hold boundaries, soften without collapsing. Our danger zone is confusing his silence with abandonment. And our soul written trigger is no longer defining our peace by his contact. For him, his soul task is to prepare the sacred temple in silence. His field work is to self-initiate through inner codes and spiritual retreat. The danger zone is thinking he must disappear forever to stay holy. All right, that's too much, right? And his soul written trigger is feel spiritually safe in your presence. So that's why this union requires emotional neutrality with spiritual intimacy. So that's why it's not about talking it out. It's about anchoring in the field first, and the body follows when the frequency stabilizes. All right, let's look into category 3. All right, so again, I did a short video about the 4 other categories. So again, I might be introducing it. So a lot of stuff I'm introducing. So, it's going to be really fun, because, you guys can comment which category you resonate most with. All right, so category 3, the cosmic runner and the quantum weaver. Quantum weaver. So the separation moon, energetic overload, timeline chaos, and existential confusion. Why does it happen? You, as the divine feminine, activate too many codes at once, and he runs to avoid multidimensional combustion. So think about it this way. You talk about Atlantis, and he suddenly says he needs space to think. And then he joins a CrossFit cult. So what is the soul doing? He's helping him to stabilize his nervous system, and it's teaching you not to entangle timelines while projecting urgency. So that's why he may say he's overwhelmed, and you are like, hey, I only activated 5 freaking grid lines, and he triggered his starseed, and his starseed awakening is triggered and channeled stuff about his past, and then he starts freaking out. So that's why the archetypical summary for this category is that he runs from multi-dimensional intensity, and you weave timelines beyond this lifetime. So this is the most psychically complex category, because the union just doesn't span space and time. It spans reality, soul lifetimes, parallel selves, and galactic memory. So what is exactly happening behind the scenes? For the DM, the cosmic runner, he isn't running from you. He's running from the quantum instability that gets triggered by your energy. And your presence may activate dormant soul memory, psychic bleed-throughs, prophetic dreams, past life flashes, emotional overload that doesn't make linear sense. So the real life example here would be, for example, this is the category you only meet like once, and suddenly the divine masculine can't sleep. He starts seeing repeating numbers, has a breakdown at work, dreams of galaxy, then blocks her on all platforms. Because he cannot regulate his nervous system, he cannot regulate the frequency spike. And behind the scenes, his higher self is running an emergency recalibration protocol, nervous system regulation, grounding mechanism, soul integration work to make sure he doesn't disassociate or collapse. For the divine feminine, the quantum weaver, you being the timeline aware, memory rich, and often ahead of schedule, you have already seen his future, and you remember Atlantis, right? And you can feel when he's suffering, even from a continent away. So there's no space here, right? The problem is your accuracy becomes a liability. Knowing too much too soon can lead to over-functioning in the union, trying to manifest timelines the field can't yet hold, getting stuck in the spiritual proof mode to validate what you sense. Again, it's like you write letters and you never send it. You channel messages and you think he's not ready. You keep checking his energy instead of building your own life. So your soul is trying to teach you that you're not wrong, you're just early. So stop over transmitting this into an unstable field. So the purpose of this category, the separation, is to build quantum containment so that the field doesn't fracture. And it's also to train you in frequency hygiene and grounded intuition. So, not every message to be shared, not every vision is for action. He will return when you become the witness, not the chaser, and the lighthouse, not the satellite. So, the common mistakes here is the divine feminine collapsing into spiritual obsession, constantly checking, pulling cards, scanning his field for the DM that he's going crazy. When his soul memory starts reactivating, then blaming it on her. So that's why the soul task for the quantum weaver is to translate galactic truth into embodied present time action. The field work is frequency containment, message discernment. The danger zone is hypervigilance tracking over telepathic engagement, and the soul return trigger is anchoring your gifts into grounded reality and stop over broadcasting. Whereas for the cosmic runner, his sole task is to integrate multidimensional overload through grounding, nervous system recalibration, memory awakening. Danger zone rejects you due to energetic overwhelm, and the soul return trigger is that he feels safe in his body while being reconnected to your field. So this union doesn't form through fixing anything. It forms when the quantum field stabilizes, but both souls stop trying to prove, correct, or rescue one another. So many of y'all may connect to category 3, so tell me in the comments if you do. So we've got 3 more categories to do. I didn't think this discourse is going to be so long, but it looks like it will be because I've got so much stuff that I've channeled to share with you guys. Alright, let's go into category 4. The separation wound. The separation wound for category 4, which is the timeline wanderer and the quantum pillar, is that non-commitment, spiritual drifting, karmic loops. Why it happens? He's literally jumping timelines and she's holding the only true one. So he goes, comebacks, then disappears again. Meanwhile, you are anchored in that one frequency that never moves. So what is the soul trying to do here? So he is collapsing into false identities and you are teaching, and the soul is teaching you to stay grounded, not to prove that you're on the right path. So that's why you are like, why does he keep dating karmics? And then cosmic consciousness is like, because he's shopping for timelines he doesn't belong in. So that's what's actually going on. So let's go into the archetypical summary of it. He literally wanders across timelines, confused and misaligns, and you hold the master grid of divine timing in correction. So this category is defined by shifting realities, multiple unfinished soul contracts, and intense periods of almost union but not quite. And as the divine feminine, you often feel like you may often feel like you're watching him chase ghosts while you're holding a map he won't look at. So what is actually going on behind the scenes for the divine masculine timeline wanderer is that he's unconsciously fulfilling multiple soul contracts at once, often from past life trauma, family karma, collective service template, the protector, provider, fixer. So he's not trying to betray the union. He simply hasn't yet collapsed the false timelines he still believes in. So, for example, he commits to a karmic partner because it feels the right thing to do, and he starts a business in a city that drains him or constantly changes paths, relationships, careers, even spiritual beliefs. Nothing sticks. So behind the scene, his soul is waiting for him to fail forward into alignment. For the divine feminines in this category, the quantum pillar, You see the bigger picture. You know the exact timelines, patterns, divine markers, but you're forced to watch it all unfold imperfectly. And the danger is timeline interference, overcorrecting, micromanaging, trying to help him align. Remember, you are the lighthouse, not the tugboat. So, for example, in this category, the divine feminine keeps trying to guide him gently, hinting at the mission. You energetically hold space to the point of exhaustion. So that's why you might get a psychic whiplash from every pivot he makes. So behind the scenes, your soul is upgrading you, and learning how to stay attuned to divine time, not his drama. So the purpose of this separation is to train you both in timeline awareness and realignment, not through control but through natural frequency stabilization. He needs the freedom to wander until every false exit leads back to the true doorway. So you need the discipline to stop adjusting the doorway just because he's circling it. So this category isn't about healing wounds, it's about correcting trajectories. So the common mistake is that as the divine feminine, you become the timekeeper instead of the pillar. You track his moves, you compare timelines, you delay your life until he gets it. So for the DM, it's confusing soul confusion. For destiny, thinking every intense detour must be the path. So that's why the sole task for you as the divine feminine is to anchor divine timing without intervening. The field work is frequency anchoring, not interference, field correction. The danger zone is to overcorrect the field or sacrificing your own alignment. And the soul return trigger is to stop moving with him and to stand in divine stillness. Whereas for him, the soul task is to burn out false timelines by living them. Fieldwork is to karmic contract closure, decision fatigue, and realignment. And the danger zone is mistakes, emotional pull for soul contract, and soul return trigger is that he realizes all roads lead to the pillar, which is you. So that's why the union doesn't come together when the DF, when you, the divine feminine, finally convinces him. It comes together when you stop compensating for his chaos and become the immovable truth of the right timeline. So some of you guys might fall under this category. So, let me know in the comments if you guys do. Category 5, the mission holder and the greed weaver. All right, so let's see if any of you guys fall under this category. So the separation wound for this category is mission over union, service over partnership. So why does this happen? You're both too busy saving the world to figure out dinner plans. So think about it this way, The divine feminine is anchoring codes from Pleiades in Peru, and then the divine masculine, is rewriting the masculine leadership templates in his local man circle. So this is the DM who has got a man circle, literally, where they talk about their pain and emotions. It can be a toxic man circle sometimes. So what is the soul actually doing? Ensuring you complete solo calibrations before joining forces, preventing premature union from derailing sacred service. So that's why the funny thing is, you're both in purpose but still wondering why you must miss each other when activating ley lines 3,000 miles apart. So that is the funny thing. So category 5, the archetypical summary. He carries the dormant mission but hasn't activated them. You activate the planetary grid through solo or early mission alignment. So this category centers around mission latency, and your DM hasn't yet accessed his soul service blueprint, while you as the divine feminine is already building the spiritual scaffolding for what you are both meant to do together. So what's really happening behind the scenes? His soul carries encoded planetary roles, but these codes are often buried under survival programming, 3D success matrix. 3D success metrics. Tongue slip, guys. Collective masculine trauma, provider of failure, that kind of, So, so your divine masculine in this category is not lazy or lost. He's miscalibrated to Earth's old grid, and his mission won't turn on until the right frequency is mirrored externally. So, for example, your DM is outwardly successful, maybe even spiritually aware, but feels hollow. He may say, I know I'm meant for something bigger, but don't know what it is yet. So, behind the scenes, his soul is waiting for great signals, something to unlock his dormant purpose, which usually happens through your embodied field, not your words. So, that's why, as the divine feminine, as the great weaver, you are the natural activator of earth grids, sacred sites, collective energy centers, and your service often starts solo: healing, teaching, building, transmitting. And your danger zone is waiting to be seen, joined, or recognized. And you may hold back your full gifts thinking, he's supposed to do this with me, I'll wait. So that's why, for example, this divine feminine is launching a program, moving to a sacred site, or speaking a truth publicly because she believes union must come before mission. But it's quite the contrary. But your soul is saying mission births the union, not the other way around. So the purpose of the separation is that he needs her mission field to activate his. But as the divine feminine, you must build it without him first, not to prove anything, but to transmit a stable frequency into Earth's grid. So when she launches anyway, the union is invited through mission resonance, not emotional longing. So the common mistakes is, as the divine feminine, you suppress your soul work waiting for partnership, approval, or companionship. For him, is distracting himself with lower resonance goals, waiting for calling while ignoring the inner pull. So that's why your soul task is to anchor mission into Earth with or without him. Your field work is to launch solo activations through sacred work, collective transmissions. Your danger zone is delaying missions due to perceived lack of support, and your soul written trigger is becoming energetically unavailable for stagnation. Whereas his soul task is awaken service codes through vibrational mirroring. Field work is to burn out false masculine templates, success, failure, sacred work, and collective transmissions. Danger zone is mistakes, comfort for purpose, and the soul written trigger is feels the soul call through your mission field. So in this pair, mission is the medicine, not emotional healing, not reassurance, but frequency action. So union becomes inevitable when, as the divine feminine, your mission becomes non-negotiable. So final category, guys, are you guys ready? I know, I hope you guys are not bored. I know this is a long one. Finally, I know you will laugh, but you see, I'm splitting this into categories based on energies, so you can call it any way you want. So category 6 is the sleeping king and the flame of remembrance. So the separation wound is, of course, amnesia, invisibility, the ache of remembering what he can't. And why does it happen? He is in soul slumber, and you carry the memory alone. So think of it like this, you dream of him nightly and feel his energies constantly, and he says, I don't believe in all of this spiritual stuff. And what is the soul doing? Letting the sleeping king awaken organically through divine design, and for you, initiating your feminine into flame priestess mastery. So that's why the funny part is like seriously, why can't he feel what I feel? That would be a constant question. And then cosmic consciousness is like, oh, he feels it, that's why he's hiding under his karmic blanket and pretending to be asleep. So that's why, let's go into the archetypical summary of the sleeping king and the flame of remembrance. So he sleeps deeply, karmically, and generationally. You remember painfully, vividly, and often alone. So this is the most long haul, soul heavy, and ancient of all monadic categories. The divine feminine remembers everything, the divine masculine remembers nothing yet. So what's going on behind the scenes? For the divine masculine, the sleeping king, he's not just unconscious of the connection, he's unconscious of himself. Often born into deeply karmic or emotionally repressed environments, he builds an entire life on external roles: father, provider, leader, identity mask, the skeptic, the realist, the rebel. And emotional amnesia, not allowed to feel, express, or remember. His soul is not resisting you, it is actually in deep preservation mode until the inner throne is rebuilt. So, for example, this is the divine masculine who may deny spirituality altogether, mock twin flame language, or reject you completely, not because he doesn't feel it, but because his body is not safe. It's not a safe home for your return. So his journey is like a freaking sleeping lion being stirred by divine sun but not ready to rise. So as the divine feminine in this category, as the flame of remembrance, and you have always known. You dream of him, you see your combined soul history, you feel the codes, but it's like he's asleep in another timeline. And your and your danger is emotional martyrdom, carrying his pain and your own pain while waiting for recognition that may never come in this lifetime. So that's why, it's like you try to remind him of the love through subtle contact channel letters or even energy work. And you think if you can reflect it enough, you'll wake up. But the truth is, he doesn't need to be remembered. He doesn't need to be reminded. He needs to be reassembled. That's his inner work. So the purpose of this separation is to prevent premature awakening that could fracture him further, and to force you to stop waiting for validation and to instead channel the grief of being the only one who remembers into spiritual leadership. So this is the category of soul maturity, where union is possible but only after the divine masculine becomes sovereign within himself. So the common mistake is the divine feminine holding on sacred memory as a substitute for present joy, believing remembrance alone is enough to create reunion. For the divine masculine, confusing numbness with peace and staying asleep because it's easier than confronting purpose. So the soul task for the divine feminine is to lead through sacred memory without collapsing in sorrow. The field work is legacy healing, psychic memory repair, grief alchemy. The danger zone is romanticizing the memory instead of embodying mission. And the soul return trigger is uses memory as fuel, not as a wound, and that becomes untouchably whole. Whereas for the DM, the sleeping king is to rebuild his inner kingdom through life breakdown. The fieldwork is shadow self-integration, nervous system repair, identity deconstruction. The danger zone is over-attachment to roles, emotional suppression, and the soul return trigger is to feel safe enough in his body to awaken the truth. So this union is not from longing, but through the divine masculine's spontaneous ignition and the divine feminine's refusal to shrink while waiting. So remember, this is not a failure, this is a frequency formation. So let's be clear once and for all. Monadic separation is not emotional punishment, it is frequency precision. So it exists because your counterpart cannot yet meet you at the level of truth you're now vibrating at, and your union cannot exist under false spiritual maturity. You're not behind, you're becoming. And when your divine masculine returns, it will not be because you chase, it will be because you anchored so fiercely in your knowing that your very frequency becomes the field they finally remember how to come home to. So that's why, again, I've talked about all 6 categories. So to all the Monadic Twin Flames out there, this isn't about waiting. This is about, as the still flame, the quantum pillar, the remembrance keeper, the veil burner, and it's about transcendence. It's about remembering that you are not here to fall. That's why for the veil burner, the still flame, the quantum weaver, the quantum pillar, the great weaver, and the flame of remembrance, the field is being built. So let others chase relationships. The 3D people, leave that to the 3D people. You're here to rebuild the divine union field template of sacred union, one one transmission, one silence, one seven flame at a time. So I'm going to quickly do part 2 and then part 3. I didn't think it will take this long, but you know what? I'm already in it. So part 2 is the purpose of separation, what the Monadic Twin Flames are really doing behind the scenes. The part 2 is from architecture to activation, the hidden mechanics, evolutionary demands, and spiritual consequences of sacred delay. So it's basically about setting the frequency. You ask for union, but your soul asks for evolution. So let's be super blunt, all right? Part 1 cleared the illusion. So now let's dissect the engine room, because while your ego wants answers, your soul is running a multi-system upgrade that's shifting you across dimensions, timelines, incarnations, and planetary grids. So part 2 is about what happens after the rupture, after he's gone, after silence sets in. So this is where soul work begins, the stuff you can't post about on your social media. So section 1, the inner consequences of sacred delay, soul architecture rebuild. When your counterpart leaves, the construct you build around the love collapses. This includes childhood projection, fairy tale expectation, starseed savior syndrome, and the belief that union would complete you. So what's left? You are stripped of your soul. No more romance, just reality. You start asking better questions. Who am I without being mirrored? What am I called to anchor without being held? What happens if I build the temple before the king awakens? This isn't grief, it's ego death in sacred disguise. So, secondly, frequency accountability. In this phase, your soul no longer lets you bypass. Everything becomes visible, shadow, shame, doubt, rage, illusion. You learn to sit in your fire. Stop outsourcing your intention. Stop checking his WhatsApp status like it's a tarot card. So tarot deck, I mean, so if he blocks you on WhatsApp, that's the best thing. I mean, if he changes his number, even better. Then you would stop looking at his status. You realize you can no longer play small and expect union to save you, because Monadic Twin Flame unions doesn't save you. It entrusts you with a divine union feel, God-like third energy, fully activated power. So thirdly, initiation into energetic integrity. This is the turning point. You stop chasing your divine masculine's return. You start becoming the field that calls him back without needing him to come back. You become so vibrationally sound that you no longer need to over-explain. You stop doubting your vision. You stop spiritually negotiating with your divine masculine's shadow. You become quite literally the gatekeeper of your own God light, spiritual light, sacred field of energy. So that's the reason why this is about sacred systems at play on a cosmic, planetary, and a personal level. So separation isn't just happening in your emotions, it's happening across 5 planes of existence simultaneously. Number 1, personal level. So this is the 3rd and 4th dimension. Identity collapse and emotional purging. This is where the heartbreak hits. You feel abandonment, unworthiness, rejection, and the brutal echo of silence. But behind the scenes, you're releasing family karma, detaching from inner child patterns, ending lifetimes of performance-based love. This phase hurts, but it clears the vessel. Number 2, soul level, 5th dimension. What's actually going on? Mission activation and timeline collapse. You begin downloading soul assignments, collapsing distorted contracts, realigning to your correct future path. Often this is where your psychic gifts are fully activated. You suddenly know who's real and who's isn't. You feel energies in your womb, spine, and heart. You speak things that make others uncomfortable. So welcome. This is your command center coming online. And number 3 is galactic level, the 6th dimension, star memory retrieval. So this is where it gets a little bit spicy. You remember planetary councils, you reconnected to, like for me, it was like Mintakan, Syrian, Andromeda codes initially, and now I'm, connecting more and more. And then you dream of missions in the ether, that you have never studied. So you realize you're not just clearing this lifetime, you're sequencing light DNA across time. So this is the field of humanitarianism, totally. And then on a monadic level, which is the 13th dimension, divine union field template reinstatement. This is where rarely only a few of us make it, but you can all make it now till 2050 because everything is open. So at this level, your separation is not seen as a wound, it's seen as an alchemical position that restores your God spark, anchors divine neutrality, and if you reach this, congratulations. You have graduated from where are they to I am the field. All right. I hope I hadn't rushed through section 2. But I was thinking, I just wanted to go through this so that, you know, I want to do section 3, but I'm like looking at the time and I'm thinking, should I do it? Should I do it? Let me just check. Oops, when I check, it's 11:11, guys. Amazing, isn't it? All right, let me check. Actually, I wanted to answer these questions. So, Karen, thanks for bringing it up. Can we be a bit of each depending on where we are on the journey? All right, again, guys, I channel these 6 categories for the sake of better understanding. So, some categories do overlap. Some you directly know you fall under this category, but some of you guys may be the karmic detourer, and you might, feel a little bit of, you might fall under category 3 and 5, for instance, and you could be the still flame, and then you could feel like, hey, mission 5 and mission 6 also intertwined. So absolutely you can be a bit of each as well. This is just for the sake of bringing down the information into 3D and language. So absolutely, Karen, you can. So now we are going to go into part 3, rebuilding the divine union field and life beyond longing. So this is the part where you are, where you have totally entered the field, and this isn't theory. Once you anchor into this divine union field, things start to shift fast. The emotional triggers decrease, not because you've repressed them, because your identity is no longer built around your divine masculine's behavior. The synchronicity spike. He thinks of you, you sense it. You post something, he appears. Your field is alive, and now it's starting to signal reunion timelines. And then there is that quantum pool that activates, So this isn't chemistry, this is a gravitational field reversal. Your divine masculine begins to move toward you, not because you're available, but because your field is no longer negotiable. So remember, union isn't luck. It's actually like mathematics. When the field is fully built, spiritually secured, mission aligned, emotionally coherent, reunion isn't a matter of if, it becomes a matter of when the body catches up and when the soul already knows. So that is the reason why you don't have to feel incomplete. You are the builder of the frequency that remembers the entire love story without needing to reread the chapter of pain. And when your divine masculine returns, he might not recognize you fully, because he's starting to recognize your field, and that field is the divine union field. So that's the reason why, when we are rebuilding the divine union field and when we go deep within, you're no longer waiting for love anymore. You become love. And when this is occurring, what is the beautiful part of it all? You're fully in that moment of deepest clarity. You are no longer trying to like figure out, hey, what is happening, hey, what is going on. This is the point where you start to anchor a code like no other. Oh shit, have I frozen? Okay. Guys, let me know if I'm freezing. Here it's a bit, um, it's going down a little. So the whole purpose of it all is that when you realize that you are no longer who you are and you are actually what you're becoming, is where you are not stuck any longer. And you start to figure out that you are the field. So that's why, part three, I want to actually finish this discourse in a very strong tone. When you are here building the sacred field energy, you are no longer waiting. You are the architect of your divine masculine's return. At this stage, you have cried the tears, you have read the signs, you've gone from, is this real? To, this is the most real thing I've ever known. And now the ache is evolving. You're no longer holding grief. You're holding the architecture of something eternal. And this part of the journey is the most sacred. Do you know why? Because it's not about managing pain anymore. It's about magnetizing reunion before becoming the God frequency itself. And you can finally return home. And this is union embodiment. And it's not fantasy, because you are the sacred union field. You are now ready to anchor the world. So, your first ending the longing loop. So longing is sacred, it's the soul's memory of the union you have already lived, right? Before Earth distorted it, after birth, the templates, the brainwashing, everything. But the longing becomes destructive when it freezes you in an energetic dependency. The moment you believe you need your divine masculine to complete the frequency, you have reversed the field. So how do we break the loop? Stop using the silence as evidence against the bond. Your divine masculine's silence isn't a statement about his feelings. It's a statement about the readiness to meet God inside themselves. And until your divine masculine can do that, your presence in his life will feel like a threat, not a gift. So that's why he ghosted you after a sacred moment. It wasn't a lie. His ego collapsed under the weight of divine contact. And your job now is not to shrink, but to stabilize. Shift the question from when to what. What? Stop asking, when will he come back? Start asking, what am I building while the sacred field is being readied? This shift ends energetic paralysis and begins mission embodiment. Refrain his absence as your assignment. Every time he pulls away, something opens inside of you. Something. And this is not coincidence. It could be a personal revolution, it could be a new career, it could be anything. But that's the purpose of the ache. The ache turns into architecture. So let's think about, building the sacred source field. You're not just healing, you are building a written corridor, the energetic landscape your twin must walk through when he's finally ready. And how do you do that? Anchor the energy home. Remember, you are the temple, not metaphorically, literally. Your body, your aura, your presence becomes the safest place for your DM to remember. So, this means clearing the resentment, holding the door open but not standing at it, like the whole man cave analogy from the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Instead, releasing timelines that pressure, manipulate, or shame. So, when he finally remembers who you are, everything will work out. Number two, create from the feel, not from the wound. Longing is not an invitation to pause your life, it's the activation point of your leadership, creativity, and influence. Example, launch your career into something that you have always wanted to do. Write a book, go and become an astronaut or something, speak the truth, be seen, let your grief become great work. Lead. This one is a very, very important step. All right, lead as if you're already in union. So remember, like I mentioned this earlier in the discourse, this is a very, very sacred hack. When you lead, speak, and serve as if you're already in sacred union, your field becomes emitting the reunion frequency. That's when your divine masculine starts to dream of you. He feels restless in karmic dynamics. He stumbles onto your videos, photos, or writings without even knowing why. And he will sense a pull that he cannot name because it's your field calling them forward. It's not you anymore. So it's about embodying the sacred source code, the union you carry within. So let's actually, think about it. You're shifting from strategy to identity. The sacred source field isn't about your future. It's about your current embodiment of divine union codes. You're both monadic twin flames now, right? You're no longer... So what I mean is you have become one. You're holding both poles, magnetism and mission, softness and spine. You have literally become one. So this is what you call the Ardhanadiswarar in Hinduism, where Shiva and Shakti become one. And this integrated self becomes Ardhanadishwarar, the match to your divine masculine's awakening. So you become the union, not a half, not in separation. You are union already stabilized inside one body, building the architecture that makes your divine masculine's return not just possible, but probable. Remember, you are the guardian of the field. So this path isn't for the faint-hearted. You are entrusted with the field, the sacred space where reunion, remembrance, and resurrection will occur. Remember, you're not here to manipulate timelines. You don't have to watch them through fear from afar. Remember, you are the frequency. You hold the frequency and your DM feels it. So that's why it's all about rebuilding the divine union field and embodying union beyond longing and architecting the frequency of sacred return. And for us monadic twin flames who are no longer in waiting but consciously becoming the field, our union was written, has already been written. All right, so that's why you're not just healing, you're holding infrastructure. And let's directly address this. Most people think separation is like a freaking waiting room. It's not. It's a construction site. That's the reason why. End the longing loop. Stop interpreting silence as rejection. Ask higher questions. The wrong question is when will they come back? The correct question is what am I here to build so that they can come back? Union is not a date, it's a field condition. When the condition is met, return becomes a magnetic consequence. Interpret the ache as instruction. The pain you feel isn't punishment, it's a frequency activation. A divine impulse telling you create, serve, speak, move, lead. Your ache is your soul saying, hey, we didn't separate to suffer. We separated so you could anchor the world we will re-enter. That's why what it truly means to build the divine union field is that you're not waiting for love. You're becoming the stable field that sacred love can return to. And this is how you architect it. You must become the home before your DM returns. Your counterpart, your DM, is not returning to you, he's returning to the frequency you hold. And if you have abandoned yourself in sadness, in watching, in waiting, you have left the very home that is meant to return to rebuild it. How? Daily anchoring practices, mission based leadership, energetic boundaries with timelines, not just people. You don't hold the door open, you become the temple. I'll keep saying this over and over again. Stop outsourcing the mission to their return. Like, I will start when he comes back. No, you start now. In fact, that's the trigger. Your divine masculine can feel the field shift when you activate purpose. The mission doesn't begin after union. The mission is what constructs the divine union field in the first place. So that's why, finally, the signs that you've entered this field. Once you anchor into the divine union field, things are shifting fast. Emotional triggers decrease. Again, I'll say this, not because you've repressed them, because your identity is no longer built around his behavior. Synchronicities spike. He thinks of you, you sense them. Quantum pool activates. And finally, remember, union isn't luck. Union is sacred geometry. So that's why if you have made it to this discourse, into this part, the final part, you have likely stopped crying on your kitchen floor and started asking better questions. And that's what I hope this discourse does for you. Ask questions like, what is this ache asking me to build? What happens when my DM returns but I'm no longer waiting? Am I becoming the frequency or still demanding the form? So this is where longing ends and legacy begins. Remember, longing isn't the problem, dependency is. Longing in a monadic twin flame connection is evidence of soul memory, but when that memory becomes a substitute for embodiment, then union stalls, because longing becomes looping when you pause your mission until he returns. You start seeking signs instead of embodiment. You confuse emotional pain with energetic love. So let's be very, very clear. The divine union field cannot anchor in addiction, even if it's marked as romance. How the loop keeps you small. The loop creates a subconscious rule. Unless they come back, I'm not whole. This quietly broadcasts insecurity, unworthiness, misaligned magnetism. Ironically, this blocks reunion, because what your divine counterpart will one day, because when your DM one day returns to this field, it's not fantasy. So you're not holding space, you're constructing a multi-dimensional electromagnetic field that your union was coded to re-enter. So let's really, really break it down this time into real tangible functions. You become the energetic home, safe, clear, coherent. This is not about being calm, it's about becoming the residence signature of the divine union field, the vibrational match to the future that you're both going to share, not the past. He will not return until you clear your emotional needs. He will not return until you have activated your frequency. You create from wholeness, not from pain. So instead of posting on social media for validation, serve from your soul, knowing what's yours cannot miss you, what's aligned will magnetize. Your union is already coded into divine plan. That's why you are in your goddess state. You lead as if union already exists. And that's why the divine union field is built by unconditional love, leading with authority, embodiment, making decisions based on alignment, not fear. You're not pretending that he's already back. You're becoming the field that makes his return inevitable. So remember, this discourse is meant to inspire you to the next level. And this discourse explains the profound spiritual purpose of separation from monadic twin flames, breaking down the sacred journey into three core phases, each building towards the ultimate reunion, not through waiting, but through inner alchemy and self realization. And I really, really hope you have enjoyed this discourse. I'm going to open the floor to questions, and then we're going to delve right into channeling, and then I'll be done. Again, guys, all of my discourses have a lot of codes and transmission, so what you're hearing are not just words. Everyone has commented in the past that they always feel a deep spiritual shift. They're feeling they're reaching, theta beta states and all that. So really, every discourse I hold is a sacred transmission beyond the words, guys. Remember, beyond the words. So every time you listen to it, you might learn something new. It might shift something within you. But again, I thank God for this sacred discourse from the bottom of my heart, my higher self, for being there with me, always guiding me, for my divine masculine's input. Lately we've been working a lot. I've been asking him a lot of questions. And finally, for all of you all watching and recommending topics, asking me questions, and to all my clients, I'm so proud of how far you guys have come. And truly, truly, it's been magnificent. All right. Karen is saying she's feeling categories 1, 4, and 6. Oh, thanks, Karen, for that. And Karen says thank you. I needed this after last weekend. So perfect. So no more questions, I see. So let me see. So I have got Irene, Goodney, and Tracy. So this is my channeling list. And guys, I highly, highly recommend the Mercury Retrograde Healing and Activations is on promo for the next 48 hours at 99 USD. So do book your place. And guys, you can still book your spot for the 19 for the portal that's occurring today. Today's portal is just, I'm so glad I'm doing this really intense discourse on the portal day. Very, 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 very beautiful. So the 19/7 portal, if you guys want a spot, and of course I've introduced amazing healings. Do check out my site. Amazing time for soul realignment as well. And with that, guys, I'm going to delve right into channeling. All right. Irene's question is, hey V, I'm trying to shake this feeling I've been having for weeks now, and it's really sticking with me. I want to change. I don't want to feel this anymore. And what can I do to shift this energy? General guidance, please. Well, you're going through the biggest breakthrough of your journey, Irene, because after this, it's just going to be total surrender. Right now, your mind is collapsing and you're totally rebuilding the field for total reconfiguration. So you just have to be you. Whatever that's releasing, keep releasing it. Whatever you're feeling, just go with it. The messages that I'm getting from divine is that you are totally being in the right place at the moment, and your twin flame just wants you to know that she's so lucky to have you, so lucky to have you in her life. So that's why, Irene, the messages that I'm getting from your guides is just keep being yourself. You are meant to be such a powerful force. You have so much work to do for the world. Just keep being yourself. Keep bringing forth a lot of these superior energy codes that you're downloading to the world. Keep being yourself, and your divine counterpart wants you to know that love is all there is, and everything else is just an illusion. Everything else is just a veil. Everything else. So literally, Neptune retrograde is cracking your fields, cracking your mind. Uranus in Gemini is anchoring your divine counterpart towards you. So just go with it, flow with it, and I hope you have enjoyed the channeling, Irene. So just drink a lot of water, physically keep connecting with nature. You know, if you need to rest, rest. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to grieve, grieve. Just follow what your nervous system guides you to do, and then everything will be in divine sacred flow. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this channeling. Next up, I've got Goodney. Goodney's question is, how did the text I sent affect him? Feelings, thoughts, did anything surprise him? Is he writing on something for me now, or was the song he sent this evening what you meant? Text on Messenger. Oh, I'm gonna have a look at that. Oh wow. Oh, wow. This is how you guys are communicating through the sacred source field. Literally, you know, you're no longer communicating in words, you're communicating through music. So this is highly, highly, this is monadic twin flame level romance, like what you are feeling. So the text you sent him has truly activated his feelings to the next level. You know, you guys are actually preparing for like a Garden of Eden in your force field. So did anything surprise him? Absolutely. Every single day, every moment right now is filled with surprises. Your energy, you know, how shy you are, how romantic you are, how you just go with the flow, and how you're just like, you know, what is actually going on is the third energy between the both of you are being activated fully. And that's why he's writing all of this music and poetry just for you. So he's definitely writing more stuff for you. I'm feeling that. Um, so yes, on many many levels, what's going on is the third energy is activating. You know, your communication with each other is on a different level right now. It's no longer 3D 4D, it's 5D 6D. So expect the unexpected. Everything is flowing in the most divine way possible. Goodney, the messages that I'm getting from your guides are that they want you to know that this is superior sacred alignment. Like right now, the source codes, the field codes, they're all anchoring in the most sacred way possible. So this is the time for like divine growth, divine catharsis, and just be yourself. And this is also the moment to truly to shine in your divine light as well. And the messages from your divine masculine is that, straight to the point, he's saying he loves you, he wants to marry you, he wants to start a life with you like no time has never lapsed. He said the past is the past. He wants you to, you know, integrate the past with the presence, with the present, be in full presence. And he says he will come, he will sweep you off your feet, he will marry you, and you will have the most. So this could be a psychic marriage, it could be a traditional marriage even, but right now he has got the thoughts of moving in with you, living with you, you know, truly celebrating your union here on 3D earth. And it's very 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 powerful. Goodness, it's just so powerful right now. Just go with the flow. And your guides want you to know you are in super radiance form right now. So just, you know, so right now Mercury retrograde, Neptune retrograde, they're all working in your favor. But just, you know, because it's Mercury retrograde, the next 3 weeks, try not to fall into the lower states, because right now you're vibrating really really well. Keep maintaining this frequency. If you have any doubt, go back to cosmic consciousness, talk to God, and realign yourself. With that, Guni, I hope you have enjoyed today's channeling. And finally, I have got Tracy. Tracy saying, I'm going to watch the replays. I'm done. I have sent it one. Just wondering, we are seeing each other, but as I told you, he said he doesn't. He said he doesn't love me. Can you see him coming forward anytime soon and moving forward, please? All right. Firstly, get rid of the timelines. You know, just appreciate the presence. He's communicating with you. He doesn't have to say I love you in words, Tracy. It's written all over his actions. He wants to be with you so badly. Words don't matter anymore. He loves you, loves you, loves you so much. So it's going to happen anytime round, especially with Neptune retrograde. The veil is collapsing. He's truly anchored to the fields right now. So he doesn't have to say I love you. You know, it'll be actions, you know. So if that's what your soul desires, he will say I love you too, but it will come when you are totally surrendered to those words. So that's what I'm seeing and feeling for the both of you. But your divine masculine loves you so much, and that's why he's like, he's saying quite the contrary, because it hurts too much to speak the truth. So he's going through a major throat chakra activation right now. So anytime soon, this is going to turn around and he's going to come forth with the truth with you. Moving forward, anything is possible. A sacred marriage, a sacred reunion, anything. The impossible is possible in your journey right now. So really, really beautiful. Everything is happening in deep alignment, and Tracy, both you and your DM are ready to shine and to really take on the world. So that's what I'm saying, and your guides are really, really proud of how far you have come. Despite all that's happened, you've always hold your goddess self so powerfully. So keep going, and remember, everything will happen in divine timing. With that, I hope you have enjoyed the channeling. And guys, I really hope you have enjoyed today's discourse. I know it's a bit longer than my usual, but it's really, really intense. I know I've covered a lot of topics because I really wanted to put in as much as I can. I'm really trying to level up with these discourses, because I'm just feeling inspired. So with that, this is a great time and season for healings and activations. Do check out the new healings I've introduced. Also, best time for soul realignment. Also, tell me which category you think you are on. That's going to be a very interesting discussion. And for those watching on YouTube, once I hit 2,000 subscribers, I promise I'll do a live there for you guys. If not, there's not enough audience for me to draw in a live. And finally, Mercury retrograde activations for the next 48 hours. It's at 99 USD. Usual price is 222, and do check out the other healings as well. You see, I'm getting tired. You see, my soul wants to speak more, but the physical body has got its limitations. Just kidding. Everything is transcendence. And again, I thank God for this sacred discourse. I thank MJ for this amazing platform. Thank you. 4 years ago, you inspired me, to do these weekly lives, and look how far we have come. So thank you, MJ, from the bottom of my heart. If not for you, I wouldn't have even done this weekly lives. So thank you, MJ, and I thank my higher self. I thank cosmic consciousness. I thank Paramatma for being able to deliver this discourse to you. Again, guys, I'm using my own words, so other teachers might use other terminology, other words. So this is how I have categorized this. I've pulled out the information and I've put it in these categories. So you might resonate, you might feel, or you might fall under one or two categories, one or three categories. Limitless. With my discourses, it's never fixed, it's always flowing. Even when you listen to my first discourse versus now, you will see even I have grown. And now, when I first started doing my lives, I was not in full union yet, and then I got into full union. So everything has changed. Now I've got my divine masculine's input as well, so I'm able to share those, what happens after union, able to connect those events and timelines. So again, I thank my divine masculine too. I would still say with so much love and fondness that he is more awakened. He's more awakening than me always, and I thank him from the bottom of my soul for being the truest inspiration always. And again, all praise to God, and all gratitude to God always. So may you all shine in your divine light. May God bless you all always, and may you all be in union with your divine masculine soon. So guys who are in pre-union stages, guys who are getting into the union stages, or guys who are already in union, feel free to comment. And with that, if you guys have want me to channel a particular topic, or you want me to go deeper into any of my discourses, or you want me to introduce newer stuff, do not hesitate to comment. All of these videos are on YouTube, so it's always accessible. I'm trying to create more and more playlists, trying to organize them. Divine feminine, right? So my DM is helping me a bit. So with that, love you all and see you all next week. Take care and bye-bye.